Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
All right, back with Outlaws Gunslingers and looking at a serial killer ending the month out.
Right.
And see blood trickling down in the toilet.
Well,
Or the
tub.
tub.
This month's serial killing, we're covering the Cleveland Strangler. Who, this is pretty recent. 2000s.
Oh, that's the one they made the movie out of? Where he held them
No.
girls hostage in the basement?
No. Totally different guy. That wouldn't be a serial killer because he
Right.
didn't kill him.
He didn't kill anybody in that one?
No. Yeah, Cleveland Strangler. We're talking about Anthony Edward Sowell. He was convicted in 2011 of murdering 11 women whose bodies they were discovered at his Cleveland, Ohio home in 2009. He was born August 19th, 1959 in East Cleveland. We're heading into the 60s, and there's this lime green house at 1878 Page Avenue in East Cleveland.
Okay.
It stood out like a neon sign in a neighborhood that was mostly white, working class, and just starting to feel the slow creep of poverty.
Happens.
Neighbors back then, they remember it as a roomy, two-story place with a nice backyard tucked between Euclid Avenue and Forest Hill Park. Oh, Katie Tabb, she raised her kids just down the street. She still calls it a gorgeous house. Well, this is where things take a turn because this was the house, the childhood home of Anthony Sowell, who would later be known as a serial killer. Inside that lime green house, Anthony grew up with his half-sister and 7 cousins.
Ooh, wow. The cousins moved in after their mommy passed away, creating this crowded, blended household run by Anthony's mama, Claudia Benson Garrison, and his grandmama, Irene Justice. Well, where's Anthony's dad, you ask? His name is Thomas Sowell. Well, he was nowhere to be found. Sad to say. Katie Tabb, the neighbor, well, she said she never even saw a father figure around, which explains a lot. One of Anthony's cousins, Ramona Davis, put it bluntly. Anthony and his dad didn't get along. Thomas's name barely came up. Ramona and her twin sister, Leona, 2 of those cousins, they shared some grim memories in separate interviews. Oh.
Yeah, they say life in that house wasn't just tough, it was brutal. Claudia would make them strip naked, tie them up with electrical extension cords, and beat them.
Damn.
Leona, she called it psycho. Oh, Anthony, he wasn't the one getting beaten, according to the twins. He was made to watch.
Oh, wow.
And Leona, she said he'd stir up trouble, like sneaking his grandma's Pepsi or starting fights, then pointing the finger at her so she'd get punished.
Damn, dude, open up the Little Debbie snack backwards. That looked like it was still unopened.
Right. That's the kind of thing that makes you wonder what's going on in the old young Anthony's head. Well, of course he's going to do that. He's like, these because I'm the baby boy.
Right. Must have been the only boy.
No, his mama had 6 other kids, too.
Oh, wow. What? Guess what? To the outside world, Anthony didn't seem like a troubled kid at all. Katie Tabb remembers, just like Pepper's Farms. He was the kindest child you wanted to deal with. Always respectful. Cavanna Faithwalker, an artist who met him in the early 70s at Kirk Junior High School, described him as a shy, skinny, quiet kid. Not the type to start a conversation, but he'll smile and respond if you spoke to him. Oh, Chip Fleshman.
Chip.
Another neighbor, he said that Anthony's family, they weren't rich at all, but they weren't poor either. Still, by high school, Anthony was walking everywhere. No car, which is a big deal for a teenager back then.
Yeah, in the 70s.
It was. You were 15 years old, you better have that damn learner's permit.
Better have that damn Chevelle or
Right.
something.
Broke down Dodge or some shit.
Right.
According to Fleshman, he wasn't exactly a ladies' man either. And what are you going to do?
Well, no girlfriends, just a lot of teasing from peers, especially about his assumed lack of experience with girls.
So what?
Cavanna, he remembers one incident at Forest Hill Park where the teasing got intense. Or is that the chick? Yeah. She remembers. Kids were ribbing Anthony about girls, calling him a virgin.
So what?
And he tried to clap back with some tough talk that didn't quite land.
Right.
Someone tossed him a basketball, and he was so mad he caught it in his stomach and whipped it right back at the guy.
Ooh.
Lucky for Anthony, another kid stepped in before things escalated.
Why would it be lucky for Anthony? He can't fight?
Well, because the other guy would have eaten him for breakfast. That's what Cavanna says.
Okay. All right. Wow. But Leona Davis, she tells a much darker story about Anthony's teenage years. She says he was no virgin. According to her, when they were preteens, Anthony would take her upstairs to a bedroom in that lime green house and force her to have sex with him almost every day. Ramona never saw it, but she says she believes her sister. She wouldn't lie. Leona tried to report it to the authorities, but no one listened. Years later, she'd say, I don't think the Imperial Avenue killings would have happened if somebody would have listened to me. Well, we can go back and story and see how many times these people have been putting in for sexual assault and released on the streets a day later.
Right.
So, yes, it would have happened.
Well, let's fast forward this time to 1978. Anthony's 18. East Cleveland's starting to crumble. He's looking for a way out.
78. Dude.
So he joins the Marines, reporting to Parris Island, South Carolina for boot camp January 24th.
That'll do it.
Why? Well, some people say maybe the Marines vibe appealed to a shy kid like him. You know, the few, the proud.
Right.
Maybe it was because he didn't have enough credits to graduate high school. He says that in a 2005 psych evaluation, that's what he said, as he didn't have enough credit.
Right.
Though East Cleveland officials have no record of him even at Shaw High School that he claims he went to.
Right.
Or maybe it was
That's why
simply...
he didn't have no credits.
Right. Or maybe it was even because he'd just gotten a girl from Shaw High pregnant.
Oh. Well, her baby, which is his daughter, was born 8.5 months after he enlisted. Neither the mom nor the daughter would talk about it later. But someone close to them told reporters, you should talk to the Marines. Well, the Marines didn't give up much about Anthony's time there, just the basics. His name, his rank, and his serial number. Even the Marines ain't telling you shit. Even his lawyers admitted they didn't even know anything about his military career. But we knew know this. The Marines taught him how to kill. After boot camp, he went to Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. 22 days. He did that for basic combat training.
That's the famous camp.
Yeah,
everybody's
everybody
suing right now for sewage water
Right.
and shit seeping into or toxic waste or some shit, whatever it is.
Right. He went for 22 days for basic combat training, hand-to-hand fighting, chokeholds, and using everyday objects as weapons.
I mean, that's kind of what you got to do in the Marines.
Or any military,
Right.
except for the Navy.
And then he learned electrical wiring and got stationed at Cherry Point in Havelock, North Carolina,
All right.
clearly as an electrician. He spent nearly 5 years of his 7 years there, living for a while in a blue and white striped trailer in a secluded spot.
Cool.
September 1981, at 22, he married a fellow Marine, Kim Yvette Lawson. And it was in a civil ceremony in New Bern, North Carolina. A lot of Civil War battles there.
Oh, this is nice.
Kim's mom, Norma, she said her daughter married him to help him stay in the Marines. Apparently, Anthony was drinking just a little bit too much, and Kim didn't want him to get dishonorable discharged.
That was a major thing in the early 80s with these kids going over to there because there was no wars going on. It was just insanely amount of
I don't think it had
alcoholics.
anything to do with no wars, because they were doing the same thing when there was wars.
Right.
So,
Well, but this marriage didn't last. They divorced in 1985. Same year, Anthony left the Marines after a stint in Okinawa, Japan, and a brief time at Camp Pendleton, which is in California. He went AWOL for 2 months at one point, but he still left with a Good Conduct Medal, a Rifle Sharpshooter Award, and a few commendations. When he got back to Page Avenue in 1985, East Cleveland was a different place. The population was now 90% black. Quarter of the city lived below the poverty line. Crack cocaine, as it was in all inner cities, flooding the streets.
Anthony, he came back a changed man, too. Divorce, a dad ducking responsibility for a 7-year-old, and hitting the bottle a little too hard. He told evaluators in 2005 he was having 6 drinks a day, sometimes starting in the morning, sometimes blacking out entirely. His police record from those years shows arrests for domestic violence.
When he says drinks, does he mean bottles?
Probably.
Fifths. 6/5 a day.
6 drinks. Had domestic violence, DUI, disorderly conduct, and possessing dangerous drugs.
Let me guess, he got into the crack.
Crack. In 1988, he served 8 days in jail for domestic violence, and then there were 2 murders.
Oh,
Wait,
fuck.
what? And then there were murders, which aren't proven to him yet, but
Right.
suspicious. Between 1988 and 89, 3 women, 2 suspected drug users, they were found dead near his home on Page Avenue. Rosalind Garner, 36, she was strangled in her Hayden Avenue home May of 1988. Carmela Karen Prater, 27, she was found in an abandoned house on First Avenue in February of 89. Cause of death unknown.
Ooh. Wow. Then a month later, Mary Thomas, 27, found near another abandoned building on First Avenue. Strangled with a red ribbon still around her neck. Those cases remain unsolved today. The Popo reopened them after Sowell's later arrest. No link was ever confirmed, though. July 1989, things escalated. 21-year-old woman, 3 months pregnant. She said, Anthony lured her to his house, claiming that her boyfriend was there. You looking for Tommy? He's over here.
He's over here. What that nigga doing there?
Right. When she arrived, he threw her on a bed, choked her, raped her repeatedly, bound her with a necktie and belt, gagged her with a rag. She told the Popo, he choked me real hard because my body started tingling. I thought I was going to die.
Well, eventually, he passed out drunk, and she escaped through a window. I just go out the back front door or something. A grand jury indicted him for attempted rape, but he skipped court, and a warrant was issued.
Oh, there you go.
7 months later, another woman, 31 years old, 5 months pregnant. She said Anthony raped her at a house on East 71st Street after choking her and forcing her to say she liked it.
Oh.
Again, he fell asleep. She escaped. This time, police arrested him. But charges in that case were dropped when the woman couldn't be found to testify. But they still had him for that 1989 case.
Damn right. Damn. He pled guilty to attempted rape. 12th of September, 1990. Sentenced to 15 years, to 5 to 15 years in prison. So, now he's 31, a convict in Ohio's prison system. He spent 15 years behind. Damn, he did the whole 15. Damn, moving through 4 penitentiaries. So that penitentiary, yeah. So he was how was he a model prisoner if he did all 15? Well, he was a model prisoner, supposedly. No major infractions, just a few minor ones. He took courses like living without violence and cage your age. It worked as an electrician as well. And he cooked in the prison kitchen. He even joined Alcoholics Anonymous and Adult Children of Alcoholics. But when he tried to get into a sex offender treatment program in 1993, he was rejected. What? Well, he wouldn't admit that he was a sex offender.
Yeah, that'll probably do it.
First step to a fucking healing is to admit, right?
Right. In prison, he earned his GED in 2002, passing with flying colors. And according to Tanja Doss, who was a friend from later years, he gave up alcohol and drugs. I don't think you have a choice, bud. You're in prison.
Right. Well.
But other inmates, like Carlton Pope, who we met at Grafton Correctional, they weren't fans.
Uh-oh.
Pope called him a demented, psychotic pervert.
Right.
And shunned him for his rapist stigma.
Oh, no.
Parole boards weren't impressed either. They denied his release repeatedly. So he served the full 15 years.
Fuck yeah.
He ended up, I don't know if it says it in here, but they ended up denying him because he wouldn't admit
Right.
that he was a sex offender and he never showed remorse.
Right.
But he walked out of prison eventually, June 20th, 2005, at 45 years old. And now you're coming into a completely different world.
Oh,
he just spent all of basically the tech boom
Right.
in prison. Now he's coming back where everything's like, whoa.
Right. Wow. Back in Cleveland, Anthony moved into a white house, 2.5 story.
He's not the only criminal to occupy a White House.
At 12205 Imperial Avenue. He rented a space from his late father's widow. Her name was Sigourney Sowell. He registered as a sex offender, checking in with the sheriff's office yearly until 2008. Law bumped it to every 90 days, which is always should be, not a year.
Should be every month.
Should be every day.
Right.
He completed a program for ex-convicts called Networks. Networks for Success. And he got a job as a rubber molder at Custom Rubber Corps in March of 2006. His boss called him a very good employee.
Good for him.
Usually they are good employees.
Well, he started dating women in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood, including Lori Frazier, who was a former crack user and niece of Cleveland's mayor, Frank Jackson. They lived together in what looked like a stable relationship from 2005 to 2007, or maybe even early 2008.
Right.
Tanja, she met Anthony in 2005, clearly, and said he seemed like a regular human being back then. Laughing, playing chess, barbecuing. Well, he told her he'd been in prison, but claimed he took the fall for someone else. But not everyone saw him that way. That old Tanja saw him.
Wow. Reginald McKay. Met him around the same time. Well, he called him strange, mousy, sneaky.
Something about that dude's vibe I just don't trust.
And by 2007, things started to unravel. Anthony lost his job after missing 2 days of work. Wow. He was probably late all the time.
That, and it's a factory. They don't tolerate that shit.
I don't know. His relationship with Lori Frazier, gone. Though he stayed hung up on her for years, usually how it goes. And that's when the disappearances started. Took his anger out on other women.
May or June 2007, Crystal Dozier, she went missing. The first victim linked to the Imperial Avenue case. That same summer, a neighbor called Councilman Zach Reed about a foul odor on the street, like decaying flesh. The smell got worse and more women vanished. 1 in 2007, 4 in 2008, 6 in 2009.
Damn.
By 2007, Anthony, he was smoking crack, which is according to his half-brother, Alan and Tanja, who noticed his gaunt, attic-like appearance.
Damn.
He was a familiar face in the neighborhood, scrapping metal, hosting cookouts, and drinking 40s of King Cobra malt liquor.
All right. Look at him. At least he's sticking with the old Anheuser.
Was that back then? But
His third-floor apartment became a party spot for women looking to drink and use drugs, which was out of reach of his disabled stepmother. But the party vibe could turn ugly fast. Tanja said in April of 2009, Anthony attacked her after running out of crack.
that'll happen.
Slapped her, choked her, forced her to strip.
I don't know why you do that, but sure.
She curled up on the bed, and he eventually left her alone. On the 22nd of September in 2009, Latundra Billups came to Sowell's house to smoke crack. She said that Anthony raped her after she asked about another woman he'd allegedly attacked. Did you rape that girl? I don't know. Did I rape you?
He supposedly used an electrical cord to choke her until she passed out. In both cases, he was eerily calm afterwards, offering money or clothes before letting him go.
All right.
These stories fit a pattern, so much so that expert like Harold Schechter, who is a crime historian, he points out that this instant rage followed by calm is classic for sexually sadistic serial killers.
Right.
We did a whole episode on this.
Did.
Well, the different types of them, yeah.
Right.
The escalation, 1 victim in 2007, 5 in 8 in 2009. It suggests an addiction to violence.
Right.
It's just got to keep going and going and going.
I mean, it makes sense as he grew up that way. He's seen it.
Yeah, Lord knows what he would have done in the years that he was in prison, because it was already getting bad.
You ain't kidding.
He probably would have killed more, to be honest.
Damn. Well, then we still had Anthony's obsession with Lori Frazier, whose clothes he'd kept for years after the breakup.
Wow.
This might have fueled his rage toward women, especially those struggling with addiction. 29th of October 2009, the Popo showed up at Imperial Avenue to arrest Anthony for the September rape. He wasn't there, but they found something horrific. Decomposing bodies. Oh, no. Anthony saw the police lights. He told a neighbor, "That girl made me do it." And he fled to his sister's house. 2 days later on Halloween, they caught him. The city was in shock, and the world was watching.
Yeah, they were, because in the basement, they uncover a shallow grave with the bodies of 2 women. Up on the 3rd floor in the house in crawl spaces, they found 4 more.
Damn.
Which is 6, and it gets worse. Investigators, they start digging in the backyard and turn up 3 more bodies,
Son of a bitch.
plus the partial remains of a 4th.
Wow.
Then they go back inside the house, and they find a human skull in a bucket. That brings the body count to 11. 11 lives lost, hidden in and around this one house.
Wow.
Didn't even have the decency to bury him in the crawl space like
Right.
Gacy.
Wow. Most of these women were killed by manual strangulation. Hands around their throats.
Damn.
Some are
That
gagged.
takes real rage or whatever
Yeah,
when
to
you're
do that.
not even using like a ligature or something, just your
Right.
hands.
Well, some were gagged and had ligatures,
Oh.
like cords or ropes. On their bodies when they were found, they found these. It's grim, and it paints a picture of calculated, brutal violence. That's not all, folks. Sowell just didn't kill. He's also accused of raping 3 women.
That's believable, obviously.
Luring them to his house with the promise of smoking crack cocaine together. It was a trap. It was a way to get him through the door.
Hey man, crackheads will do it.
Right.
Well, this guy wasn't just a neighbor on Imperial Avenue. He was a predator hiding in plain sight. At the time, police nabbed him up. He was 50. He'd been living at the Imperial Avenue house for 4 years. 4 years, and all this was happening under the radar. When they finally arrested him on October 31st, they set his bond at a staggering $5 million.
Damn right.
That's how serious this was from the start. We ain't letting this dude get out again.
Ooh. November 5th, 2009, investigation at Sowell's house is in full swing. 2 of the 11 victims had just been identified. The picture of who these women were starts to come in focus. All of Sowell's known victims were African American women, either slender or morbidly obese. And 10 out of 11 were mothers.
I don't think that has any bearing on anything.
Right. 7 of them were between 44 and 53 years old. 3 were in their 30s, and 1 was just 25.
So you liked them a little bit older, huh?
All right.
These were daughters, sisters, mothers, women with lives, families, and stories. Let's start first with Kim Yvette Smith. She was 44, which was the first victim tied to Sowell to be reported missing in 2009. Her family sounded the alarm, and her body was found buried in Sowell's backyard. Then there's LaShanda Long, the youngest of Sowell's victims at just 25.
Wow.
She went missing in August 2008, and her skull, that was the one that they found in the bucket.
Wow.
That detail alone is chilling. She's 25 years old with so much life ahead of her, and that's where her story ended, in a bucket.
It did.
Oh, Tanya Carmichael, she was 53 when she disappeared, more than a year before the discoveries back in December of 2008.
Wow.
Her mom reported her missing, but her body was found buried in Sowell's backyard, which is only identified through DNA evidence. She'd been strangled.
Son of a bitch. This guy's a piece of shit. Talisha Fortson, 31, vanished 5 months before the Popo uncovered the bodies. This was around June of 2009. Her mother didn't report her missing until she heard the news about the bodies at Sowell's house.
All right.
Wow. A few days later, on the 8th of November, 2009, 3 more women identified. Crystal Dozier, 38, mother of 7. Damn. Went missing in May of 2007. She lived in the same area where her body was found, and her family reported her missing to the Cleveland Police Department. But here's the kicker on that one. This wasn't the first time Crystal had gone missing. Her family felt the Popo didn't even take it seriously.
Well, if it's not the first time she went missing, then
Right.
of course they're not going to take it seriously.
She's a little crackhead running around, right?
Right.
They took matters into their own hands, putting up flyers, calling hospitals, desperate for answers.
Well, they got it.
Finally.
Well, then there was a Melda Hunter. They called her Amy. She was 47. She was a beautician and mother of 3. She didn't live in the area, but visited often. Got to get that crack.
Right.
Her family didn't report her missing until the news broke about the bodies at Sowell's house. What are these families?
That's the problem, though. When you lose your life to crack, your families don't give a shit anymore.
True. Well, that delay makes you wonder how many others were out there slipping through the cracks while smoking it.
Right. Wow. Michelle Mason, 45, last seen October 2008. She lived in the neighborhood. Unlike some of the others, her family's report prompted a full police investigation. Oh, it was the first timer, huh? But still, her body was one of those found at Sowell's house. As the investigation deepened, authorities went back to June 2005 when Sowell was released from prison. They started combing through missing persons records like, hold on here. Let's see.
Well, they started conducting DNA testing on the bodies to identify them, I would assume.
Right.
And outside the home, protesters gathered,
they
holding
want that
posters
shit
of their
burned
missing
down,
loved
huh?
ones. Families standing there hoping for closure, but dreading the worst.
Right.
Meanwhile, East Cleveland police, they reopened cold cases from the late 80s when Sowell was still living in the area as well.
Ooh, okay. All right.
They said, all right, can we get this guy on anything else?
All right. Those cases involved murders by strangulation with similar MO. They stopped around 1989, right when, guess what? Right when he was arrested for attempted rape. Was that a coincidence? I think not.
A coinky dink?
The FBI also got involved, looking into whether Sowell could be linked to unsolved cases in other cities, like his time in the Marines in North Carolina or even in California.
Apparently they found nothing because...
No, they just want to tie the ones in California because there's so many motherfuckers in California killing people.
Right. They're like, we gotta put this on somebody.
Come on, can we get him over? Was he around?
Jeez.
Was he within the 300-mile radius?
Was he within the Western Hemisphere when this happened? Or?
Right. Shit, we got about 1,500 bodies here. We need to
At least pin 3 of them on him or something.
Right, shit.
Well, this trial was originally planned to start June 2nd, 2010, but the date got pushed back again and again.
Which they always do.
First, it was moved to September 7th, 2010, because his attorneys needed more time to prepare.
Fuck off.
That's fair enough. This was a massive case. Then it got bumped to February 14th, 2011, because his lawyers, they again needed to dig through thousands of records and hours of surveillance video from the property next door.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot of evidence to comb through, but even that date didn't stick. The prosecution had scheduling conflicts, so they pushed it again to May 2nd, 2011, and they finally landed on the June 6th, 2011 date when the trial actually started.
Son of a bitch. Anthony Sowell's arrest and the charges against him are massive. We're talking 11 counts of aggravated murder, 74 counts of rape, kidnapping, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. That's 85 charges in total.
I don't know how you do Unless, I don't know, they're counting he raped him multiple times or something. I don't know.
Well, at first, Sowell pleads not guilty by reason of insanity, trying to argue that he wasn't even mentally responsible for his actions. But later, he switches it up to straight not guilty plea. Oh, you can't do that. Well, I guess you
Clearly
can.
did.
Right.
Jurors, they sat through weeks of disturbing and emotional testimony before convicting Sowell. They saw photographs of the victims' blackened skeletal corpses lying on autopsy tables and listened to police describe how their bodies had been left to rot in Sowell's Cleveland home and backyard. Sowell, he took the stand to make an unsworn statement in which he apologized. He said, "The only thing I want to say is I'm sorry. I know that might not sound like much, but I truly am sorry from the bottom of my heart. I ain't going to get you nothing, buddy."
Now, the jury didn't buy it. They said his statement, which was guided by questions from Parker, sounded rehearsed, lacked remorse. Sowell wasn't even subject to cross-examination, so prosecutors didn't even get to ask why he killed the women. Sowell, mostly he sat impassively during the trial, but he would smile when childhood recollections by his half-brother. And there was also a greeting from his stepmother's 88-year-old mother, who looked up from the witness stand and seemed surprised to see him. She's like, "Oh, what the fuck?
Hell, you doing?
Like, why am I even here?"
This ain't the doctor's office.
Right. Let's fast forward to July 22nd, 2011. The verdict comes in. Sowell is convicted on all but 2 of these counts, including the murders of the 11 women whose bodies were found. The jury, they don't hold back. They recommend the death penalty August 10th.
Damn right.
2 days later, the 12th, Judge Dick Ambrose, he agrees with the jury and he sentences Sowell to death. After his conviction, December 2011, his former residence on 12205 Imperial Avenue demolished by order of the city's leaders. He said nobody will come here looking for shrines and all that bullshit.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. By the 14th of September, he's on death row at Chillicothe Correctional Institution. But the story doesn't end here. That November, Sowell's lawyers, Jeffrey Kelleher and Thomas Rain, they file a notice of appeal with the Ohio Supreme Court. They're not giving up.
I mean, even though it's senseless and you know you're not going to, I mean, you got to exhaust all your options.
Right. Well, his execution is set for October 29, 2012. But in March, they file a motion for stay of execution. The court grants it in April, putting the execution on hold while the appeal plays out. They shouldn't even grant an appeal. Everything's there.
Well, you got to.
It's so stupid.
By October, Sowell's got new lawyers from the Cuyahoga County Public Defender's Office. That's not good. They're Jeffrey Gamzo and Erica Cunliffe, and they come out swinging with a 21-point appeal to overturn his conviction and death sentence. Let's break down the big 3 arguments they're making. First, they say Sowell, he didn't even get a fair trial because the media coverage was out of control. We're talking thousands of news stories, local coverage that was, in their words, frenzied and sustained. I mean, that is true, man. You can't have a fair trial with media and shit.
Right, even if you are guilty.
Right.
Well, they argue it poisoned the jury pool, making it impossible for Sowell to get an impartial trial. Second, well, they pointed out that the courtroom was closed to the public during a key evidentiary hearing and while the jury was being picked.
That's not right.
That's a big deal. Trials are supposed to be open. And third, they straight up say Sowell had lousy legal representation. They argue his trial lawyers messed up by not having him plead guilty to the murders and focusing instead on avoiding the death penalty.
Yeah, they were like, "You're going to be guilty, but let's just try not to get you to die."
Damn.
Well, it's tough to hear your own team say we blew it, but that's what they're claiming. Well, not his team, his old team.
Right.
By September 2014, the Ohio Supreme Court, they asked both sides to address 3 specific issues, and on April 5th, 2016, they hear the arguments. Sowell's lawyers lean hard into the 6th Amendment, saying his right to a fair and public trial was violated when the pretrial suppression hearing was closed to the press.
That's true. But then they were bitching because it was all over the press during the trial. So you can't have it both ways.
Well, they're asking for his death sentence to be commuted to life, or at the very least, a new trial. I'd say at the very least would be commuted to life, but
Right.
Jeffrey Gamzo, he doesn't mince words. He tells the court, "Frankly, we blew it.
Oh.
Should have done more for this fella."
Wow. That's a bold move, Cotton. It made him fought like that. The state, represented by Cuyahoga County DA, they push back. They argue that even if the closed hearings was a mistake, it didn't change the trial's outcome because the evidence against Sowell was overwhelming, which it was. They also pointed out that Sowell's own lawyers asked for jury selection to be private. No cameras allowed.
That's why they said he had shitty representation.
And Sowell was right there when they made that request.
He's not in his right mind.
Plus, the state says Sowell has never denied his guilt. and the sheer brutality of his crimes, coupled with little to no mitigating evidence, justifies the death penalty, which it does as well.
That's a heated back and forth. December 8th, 2016, the Ohio Supreme Court makes its call. They reject Sowell's appeal,
Nice.
upholding his aggravated murder convictions and death sentence.
Fuck yeah.
But his team keeps fighting.
We got to live for a few more years.
May 2017, they take it to the U.S. Supreme Court. In October, the court decides not even to hear
They
the
better
case.
not, you fucking pricks.
In February 2018, the Ohio Supreme Court denies the request to reopen their appeal. And in May 2020, the Ohio's 8th District Appellate Court, they shut down another appeal attempt.
See, this is fucking bullshit. This is the
You have to have
reason.
your rights, man. Doesn't matter what you're doing.
No, he's
Gotta have
guilty.
rights. Doesn't matter. You
He
gotta
admitted to it. He's guilty. He got sentenced to death. Die.
Doesn't matter. You have your rights.
No, you don't have
Yes,
rights
that's-
anymore. After you've been sentenced, after you've been found guilty, all your rights are gone.
Doesn't matter. That's why it's called appealed.
No, they don't get no
You
appeals.
still got to hear it, or they deny it, or they review it.
He killed 12 people.
Clearly, they didn't decide to review it, so they clearly agreed that he's a piece of shit.
So he's wasted 10 years in prison of taxpayers' dollars for no fucking
That's,
reason.
that's the legal system, bud.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. Everything admits he does not say he never did it.
Well, it all doesn't matter because February 8, 2021, he dies in a Ohio prison hospital from an unspecified terminal illness. He was 61. No execution, no final courtroom showdown, just a quiet end to a case that left Cleveland reeling. July 16, 2021, ground was broken for the Garden of 11 Angels Memorial on the former Sowell property.
Oh, just fucking 20 years later.
It was dedicated November 6, 2021.
So stupid. The fucking, I get it. You got to have the system like that for people that are innocent to be able to go through the process of appeals and all that shit. But somebody that is overwhelmingly fucking guilty, you should never get an appeal or anything. You get a death sentence, you should die right there. They should just kill you. If you get a death sentence, you're dead now. The fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's a flawed thing.
And I don't even agree with the death sentence. I think it depends.
How many death sentences have been overturned due to innocence years later? How about that? Death penalty carries the inherent rescuing in a sense to 73. At least 200 people who were wrongly convicted and sentenced to death in the U.S. have been exonerated. Right.
Which is fine.
So that's why you go through all the fucking measures,
Right,
because
but
even though they're finding you guilty, you clearly didn't do it.
But this guy actually admitted to
He
everything.
didn't admit to nothing. He pleaded not guilty.
Yeah.
He never pleaded guilty.
Yeah, but then he said, I'm sorry for what I did and all that
Okay,
shit.
that doesn't mean anything.
Right. I mean, I get it because there are a lot of people that are innocent that get fucking convicted, but fuck.
According to the Innocence Project, a 2014 study estimated at least 4% of those sentenced to death are innocent. That's crazy, dude.
It is. It's insane.
Imagine how many people actually got executed that were innocent.
A lot. Wrongful execution, at least.
At least
people.
190 people were sentenced to death in the United States have been exonerated and released. How many got put to death and then revealed years later they weren't? In 2020,
20 death row prisoners were executed.
but possibly innocent. Possibly.
Right. Wow. I mean, a majority of the time, yes, 95% of the time you're guilty, but I mean, I get it. You got to have all those appeals and all that shit. But when it's over, we've seen it where it was undoubtedly.
Well,
Undoubtedly.
Chapita Rodriguez was hanged in San Patricio County in 1863 for murdering a horse trader. And 122 years later, the Texas legislature passed a resolution exonerating her, so she never even did this shit.
It's just crazy, man. The fucking legal system. But it's set up to help the innocent. But it's also set up to help the fucking guilty. Just insanity.
The judicial system is not set up to help anybody but
Right.
the fucking people doing it. But what are you? I don't think there's no usually like for people who think they're wrongly convicted. There's an innocent project thing about them.
Right.
Ain't nobody trying to dispute this guy's guilty or not.
No,
he clearly was fucking guilty.
Unless somebody came in his house and planted all his bodies in there. I mean, get the fuck out of here.
Just living with him.
Right. Damn, I opened a closet and I seen a couple dead bodies, but I was like, no.
I think none of that. They might have been here before I moved in.
I
I
don't
don't know.
want to touch it. don't want to touch evidence.
Yeah, that's Anthony Sowell.
Oh, wow.
Big soul piece of shit.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah, that's our serial killer for the week or the month. We'll be back next week. probably wrapping up the Lucchese family finally after 7 or 9 months with. Actually, we're probably not going to wrap it up because we still got
a couple more.
Burke, old Tommy, and Henry Hill. And Henry Hill's his own episode, so at least got 2 episodes left.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're back with the Lucchese family next week, and then right on to Remastered and restart the cycle. Over and over again. Either way, subscribe, share with your friends, leave a comment, and leave a review, and we'll see you next week on Outlaws and Gunslingers. We are the Mother Music.
Good night.